Hello and grand evening to you. I'm not going to wait for anyone to get here. That was weird. A heart just came off the screen. I don't know where that came from. Oh, Remy, you are here. Okay, so I have the comments on at the moment. Um, that's really strange. The camera is not on me. It's going to be just like last night. I want to respect and keep my privacy at this moment. And I want to be able to be a completely clear channel without any distractions. So, hello, James, and grand evening to you. So, this video, Carly, hello. The comments are open to everyone. You can't see me. And I like it that way just a little bit too much. Okay, well, there's 3 of you here, and YouTube's already lying because it says there's only 2. This video goes out for all the people that thought they might be losing their minds. This video goes out to all the people that thought maybe they were losing it or that they were crazy. James, I believe you are married. The other 2 of you that are here are single and free to mingle, as I like to say. But this video truly goes out to all the people that thought they might be losing their mind in this ascension process. As the people that are here, the 3 of you that are here, well know I have not talked about twins or twin flames or any of that stuff for over 2 years. And the reason that I don't do that is because the amount of people that either have, people go in one of 2 ways every time I talk about twins. I either get totally inundated in Messenger afterwards with everybody's pictures and numbers and synchronicities and twin flame information, or people go in the other direction and leave very negative comments to me. That's the biggest reason why I don't, and I haven't been speaking on the subject. So last night's video was planned to be about a few things. I thought it was going to be 15 or 20 minutes long, but yet I believe it was close to an hour, which is weird. And I don't know what happened. A couple of words got jumbled and cut out of last night's reading. When I got done making that video, hello and welcome to whoever the other 2 people are that are here. When I got done making last night's video, it said it was an hour and 4 minutes and 3 seconds, 1:04:03. And I think this morning when it got done processing, it said that the video was 51 minutes. So there were some tech glitches, probably because of my energy, because they were more into the video. This truly goes out to all the people that thought they might be losing their minds. This video is dedicated to you. I can throw myself into that category as well. I have not spoken about twin flames. I couldn't even stand that phrase. I haven't talked about that in the last 2 years. And I had a conversation with Shannon yesterday, and it sparked me, as I mentioned last night, to want to sit in my bedroom in a completely dark space with a pillow over my head and go into the Akashic record to ask a question. Now, the question that I initially asked, the very first question that I asked was never even answered. But what started happening was words started coming to me. And they were words that I had never heard before. So obviously, I had no idea what those words meant. And because I know when words come through higher self or the Akashic record or wherever it was coming in, because I specifically asked to tap into the Akashic record to ask the question, how many of us, how many pairs are currently on the third dimensional plane? And it was black, and there were absolutely no answers. Last night's video, there was no planned anything that was supposed to be about twin flames. But after sitting here in the dark and talking to you for 30 minutes, I started giving a set of instructions to the divine masculine and also the divine feminine. Whether you are with that person or not, these messages still apply. For those like me with inquisitive minds, I had a whole other line of questioning that came after how many pairs of us are there, because that was essentially why I went in there. And I know when I go, whether it's by locating, remote viewing, reading the Akashic record, just wouldn't be a Tina Hammond video without a loud motorcycle. Whenever I do that, I know when it's complete darkness or I don't get an answer, I don't see a number, or there's nothing to retrieve there to move along. I don't just keep going on that same thing. Okay, I'm going to shut that window because it's really bothering me. You know I'm hypersensitive, a little bit too much. Okay, so those of you that are interested, this has directly to do with your ascension partner, your ascension buddy. And I had made a comment to Rennie a few minutes ago that she is my ascension buddy, Shannon, and has also been one of my ascension buddies. So when the answer did not come through to me about how many of us there were on this plane, I immediately went. My intention was to go to the next question. And my next question was, what does this have to do? What do we, as these yin yang counterbalanced feminine and masculine energies, what does this have to do with the ascension process at this time? Okay. I, for a long time, believed that there would be more of us incarnating right now with all that's going on in the ascension process and in the world, that there would be in any other time. So I never listened to anybody's numbers. And we've all heard the 144, 144,000, and all of that. I believe all of that refers to the body and our inner self. So I don't feel that those numbers have anything to do with how many of us there are on the earth plane. Keep in mind that I'm going to kind of go through this the way it came through. So last night when I turned the camera off, I was very surprised at myself sitting here with my eyes closed, giving it directions or a set of directions or a set of information between the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And I kept going back and forth between that and doing that. So after I saw that there was not going to be an answer, and maybe there's no answer because it's something that is in our DNA. You know, they call it junk DNA. We call it latent DNA maybe, or things that are just had been temporarily shut off. So before I even went to ask, and I'm asking, I switched from how many of this are there to what is it about this ascension process? What really is this? And what is the point of this connection? And I heard parasympathetic. And I thought, okay, I got to look that up right now, or I know I'm going to forget, because when I retrieve words and things like that, especially words I've never heard before, if it's a word I heard before, I can continue my walk or continue my dishes or whatever I'm doing. When it's something I've never heard before, I know better, because I know I'm going to lose that. So parasympathetic. And so when I went to look up parasympathetic, it is in direct connection with the central nervous system for the entire body and how it affects the organs and everything else. And I knew that was not what I was looking for. Parasympathetic means right alongside. Okay. It means feeling of contentment and safety, right? Because you can talk about the bodily functions and how the nervous system regulates itself. You can talk about its effect on the organs and blood flow, the tension in your muscles, all of that stuff. But to the twin flame connection, parasympathetic means right alongside, the feeling of contentment and safety. And I had this information before I did last night's video, but I had absolutely no intention of talking about the twin flame thing, or talking about parasympathetic or any of the other words that then came to me. But I noticed in last night's video, when I was re-listening to it, that I said the word simpatico. And of course, I did not know what simpatico meant. Oh, hello, Scott, and welcome. So I looked up simpatico, and of course, the dictionary took me to a bunch of Spanish, and I am not currently bilingual. So then I had to, translate to English. But simpatico is Spanish for sympathy. And you're going to start noticing in here that there's a whole ton of words that start with SMY. I perhaps should have looked into that as well. So simpatico is Spanish for safety. Okay, so the next question I asked, and I was kind of like, I had a giant smile on my face. It was all I could do to not laugh, because whoever came up with the title of Twin Flame must have done that intentionally, because it sounds like the most ridiculous thing. I don't care if you're talking about a connection or religious experience or a dish that you're making for dinner. Twin flame just sounds ridiculous. I mean, it sounds like something to laugh at. Why? So my second question was, okay, I know that this connection has gone on since the beginning of time. So I'm asking, what is the name of this connection? Because there's no effing way the name of this connection is twin flame. So what is the real name of this connection? And the next word I heard was kismet, another word that I didn't know. So I stopped the meditation and then had to look up kismet. So kismet, according to Most and Webster's Dictionary, is your destiny or your fate. And I, for some reason, thought this was a Hebrew word, but then when looking further, discovered that it wasn't a Hebrew word. It actually comes from Turkey. And I remember almost an entire lifetime in Turkey. So that was very appropriately fitting for me. So the original ancient term for twin flame is kismet. And kismet translation is the degree. I'm sorry, I always do that. It is the decree of the stars, the order of the stars, something written by an outside force, which we would look at as from the heavens. So the actual name I'm given for the twin flame connection is kismet. And that means order of the stars, the decree of the stars, or written in the stars. Now, it was interesting that I had so many words that started with SYM, which to me, that goes to symmetry, but which would also speak of geometry and numbers and things. When you're talking about written in the stars, we're not saying, oh, Hercules went into the stars and decided Tina was going to be, with this certain person, or Carly was going to be with this guy that had this certain name. That's not what it means, and that's not what it's saying. When you're talking about written in the stars, if you look at astrology and astronomy, it all comes down to numerology and sacred geometry. So that, I believe, is what they were referring to. And because I had so many words that started with P-A-R-A, I looked that up also. And that means alongside or near, which is half of the definition of parasympathetic, which is where we started here. I don't want to lose anybody here, but I asked, why are the twins designed to be parasympathetic? And the answer I got was that twins being parasympathetic was designed so that we were all able to fully relax into the being of self during the ascension process. Now, think about this. The ascension process is not just us sitting around turning from carbon into crystalline, right? Because that would be easy. We've got political turmoil. We've got turmoil on the world stage. We have medical turmoil that's been going on for the last 6 years. We have all these different turmoils that are right there, right? As I have said so many times, while we're in a 3D body on a 3D planet, there's always going to be that yin yang, that opposite, that balance, that polar opposite, right? So we have all this medical chaos, we have political chaos, we have financial chaos, we have a health crisis chaos, we have all these things going on. So, how does that not make complete and total, in a practical way, sense when the twins being parasympathetic was simply designed so that we were able to fully relax into ourselves during this ascension process, so that we could learn and invite ourselves to be at home in our natural state, right? We'll go back to parasympathetic, right alongside the feeling of contentment, the feeling of safety. So when you're in a parasympathetic state, that means that your pupils shrink down in size, your blood vessels open, the muscles relax, all of this. So think about it. At this crazy time of all this outer world chaos, twins were designed to be parasympathetic. So I can barely say that word. So that we were able to fully relax into ourselves during the ascension process. Now, a few of these things I touched on last night, but if you're in a relationship or a job or geographical location or any of those things, because we know that course correction, Tina, course correction, Hammond, that's all she talks about, right? But those kinds of jobs or geographical locations or family situations or partnerships are the opposite to parasympathetic, right? You're in a house or in a job or in a geographical location or in a family situation where you're walking on eggshells, where you can't relax, where you can't be yourself, where your parasympathetic nervous system is all over the place. And it's very hard on you during the ascension process to be having that. It's so important that we should be at home in our natural state. The next thing that came through to me was that the biggest draw towards the other person, not only the biggest draw, but the first initial draw to that other person is going to be the sound of their voice. And the reason for the sound of the voice being the foremost and most important draw to that other person was it so that the parasympathetic nervous system could feel content and safe during a time of much contention and planetary chaos. The next word I got was I can't even say this word, Parasynesthesis. And I thought, well, parasynesthesis, that's almost just like exactly like parasympathetic. Maybe that's the same thing. Another tense, parasynesthesis being another tense of parasympathetic, but it's not. And this is the part that blew my mind most about this. And again, when I looked up parasynesthesis, first all you're going to get is medical information. Okay, so parasynesthesis is the formation of words by adding a derivative, by adding an ending, which how appropriate when I have all these words starting with P-A-R-A and S-Y-M. So that was the last word I got. And then parasynesthesis, the formations of words by adding a derivative or an ending, is exactly what these 2 pages of information were about. Now, to go further into that, this parasynesthesis, in a spiritual, mental, energetic capacity, parasynesthesis means the human experience of being limited by birth, by death, by mental and material boundaries. What have we all been talking about for the last decade, right? The Matrix, the game. So the parasynesthesis is the human experience of being limited by birth, death, mental, and material boundaries, which is the Matrix or the game. The point of this, the point of the parasympathetic and then the parasynesthesis is, since that human experience is inside this game or inside this matrix. Now, many of us we can see beyond it. We've escaped it for many, many years, okay? But it still exists for other people. But this came in conjunction with me asking why are twins parasympathetic? And then I got parasynesthesis. I can't say these words. So the point of the parasynesthesis between these 2 people was that we would no longer be bound as a human in the matrix or the game, being limited by birth, death, mental, and material boundaries. The purpose is to remove the parasynesthesis. So the point of meeting this kismet, right? We're replacing twin flame with kismet. That's what I received. And the word is so much more beautiful. It rolls off the tongue and it really sounds like it is the correct ancient word for this connection that we know has been around since time immemorial. The whole point of this connection was to escape limitations of birth, death, mental, and material boundaries. The purpose is to remove the parasynesthesis and achieve a mystical union with the source of all creation within the self. We find in this our true identity, which removes our limitation in set 3D boundaries, which brings us to the threshold of our true nature and mystical life, so that we invite and become harmonious, abundant, content. Now, it's interesting because I had to go through a lot of different things to get out of the medical realm of the word for parasympathetic and for parasynesthesis. But the message I got in between these 2 words this morning, because this just wouldn't stop this morning and after last night's video, was threshold. And I was pretty sure that I know what that meant, but I like to allow and invite my imagination to look at things without assuming that I know everything. Threshold is the magnitude or intensity that must be exceeded for a certain reaction or result to occur or be manifested. Now, I gave a whole long spiel to the divine feminine and masculine last night, going back and forth. If you only are interested in that part, that was like the last 16 or 17 minutes. But the way this flows together, wow, I just heard a fly. I know there's no flies in here. We're in the middle of winter. Anyway, the way this comes together is pretty amazing. And like I said, I had to dig for information outside of the medical establishment. But threshold is the magnitude or intensity that must be exceeded for a certain reaction or result to occur or be manifested. And what did I say to the divine masculine last night? I said, if you wonder why you're so enchanted and enthralled over this whole ascension process, and you wonder why, it's because the divine masculine was the creator of the blueprint for the ascension program that overlays the other part of the game. The game, the matrix, the movie, whatever you want to call it. The divine masculine is the engineer, the computer designer of the overlay of the ascension program, right? Which the ascension program includes these kismet connections. But the divine masculine is the one that created it. And it was created as an overlay. You'll have to excuse this is all intuitive. And so there are not going to be any technical terms coming out of my mouth when I'm talking about computer programming. So the only thing that's really coming to me is override. Okay. So you and I may have figured out how to maneuver. A stink bug just landed in my hand. We have figured out how to maneuver over and around and past the boundaries, right, of the matrix of the video game. But not everybody has. But right now, it is the job of the divine masculine. And this is where we go to course correction, where I talked about quit opening door number 5 when you know it doesn't work for you, no, it doesn't make you happy, and it's not the pot of gold at the end of your rainbow. Long story short. The divine masculine is the blueprint designer of the overlay or override system for the matrix. So any divine masculine who's not done course correction or whatever he needs to do is stopping this, right? I talk to people and they're like, I'll do this when the reevaluation comes, or I'll get out of this town that I know I hate, that doesn't work for me, when the money comes, whatever. But it's the opposite, because every single thing that you're doing, we all have divine masculine and feminine attributes and energy. So we're a part of this divine feminine as well, even though the divine masculine created that blueprint or that override of ascension for the matrix. It's a reset or override for this game. But any person, masculine or feminine energy, that's not doing the course correction is stopping everything that they say they're waiting for, so that we get it, right? I'm waiting for this money, or I'm waiting for this inheritance, or I'm waiting for, my 401k or whatever. I mean, I know there are things we have to be present with in 3D reality. But I just find it very interesting that I got the word threshold, meaning the magnitude or intensity that must be exceeded for a certain reaction or result to become manifested. The magnitude or intensity that must be exceeded for a certain narrative or a certain result to occur. So any person that's not course correcting, right? I'm not talking about little teeny things, okay? But interesting. And it's also very interesting that when I actually did find paracentesis, and it wasn't connected to medical stuff, it goes right back to the word threshold, right? So I found that very, very interesting. because it says bringing us to a threshold and the true nature of the mysticism within us and within life, so we can invite and become harmonious and abundant, right? We're really pushing hard in certain areas. It's going to be different for different people. But in order for this override of this matrix, because we say, oh, when are the rest of the people going to wake up? When is this going to happen? When is that going to happen? It's going to happen when the most powerful people, and I mean the most powerful people are the most powerful people now that are in the hot seat. You've had to make amazing sacrifice in your life, maybe, or you've had to do some pretty amazing things. You've had to overcome some pretty amazing things because you've been sitting in the hot seat and doing this, right? The magnitude or intensity that must be exceeded for a certain reaction to occur or to be manifested means that individually, anything that we're not doing that goes along with this blueprint is slowing down the reevaluation of currencies. It's slowing down the rest of the planet waking up as well. It's time for us to hit that threshold, the true nature and mysticism within the human body, within the consciousness, and within life, and even within the planet herself. We must become harmonious and abundant. I then got this morning that this was going to be an easy change, an easy shift that occurs. A shift that is easy without any mess. Okay, so why have you been in this hot seat of change? Why have you been in the hot seat of really inviting yourself to be malleable and go with the flow? So whatever this cosmic alignment is. Now, I don't know how much of this game depends on certain aspects, because there are people that believe that numerology, now I'm getting the word parapsychology. The paras just need to hold off a minute. The way things are going, it's just incredibly important for us to understand any way that we might be standing in our own way. And you have been in the hot seat to transform, to learn how to make magic, to be the magician. And while there are people that say astrology has nothing to do with this, it's all me, 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 it's my life choices, it's how hard I work for something, that's not true. And there are other people that think that it's all about, astrology and the alignments, and that's not true. But when I asked what the true name for twin flame was, and I got Kismet, which talks about the decree of the stars, the way the stars are stationed. So this talks about your birth chart. So, I mean, you can look at your birth chart as opposed to someone else's, or numerology or other things like that, to get the gist of it. But this is telling us in this particular holographic game movie matrix that this Kismet is a numerical, alphabetical, astrological thing. Now, I'm not saying, oh, you were born at this time and this other person was born at this time, and that they're going to be exactly alike, because more than likely they're going to be an exact opposite. You're going to be a yin yang, right? One person's a Scorpio, the other person's a Taurus. Or one person has a south node in one thing, it's the opposite of the south and north node of the other person. So it's not that we're looking to astrology so much to say it's way beyond this, okay? The creation, the decisions that we made apparently pre-birth, there are many people that don't like to hear this kind of information. It is a mix of numerology and astrology. It's a mix of the alphabet. It's a mix of a whole bunch of different things. And I'm not saying, oh, look at the synastry in their chart, and you'll say, oh, no. I'm saying the synastry in the sky was literally written around these connections, right? So whatever you and this other person decided, that was lined up in a constellation. It was lined up with certain numerical sequences, with certain alphabetical sequences. Now, the reason that was designed was so that you and this person would find each other. And the point of finding each other in this point was so that the parasympathetic nervous system could feel calm, could feel relaxed, so that we could, instead of, we have a very large population, whether poor or middle class or even rich, that is very lost right now because of all that's going on internally. Okay. So you may talk to this person or message this person, and you may be finding yourself feeling really sleepy, or the sound of their voice soothes your nervous system. There's going to be some, doesn't even have to be in person, physical thing that happens in your physiology, if that's the right word, when you meet this person that was designed so that you could relax. Now, I'm not saying it was designed so you could relax and sit around and eat bonbons and watch Ancient Aliens together. Okay? Not that we should never do anything fun. Um, but it was designed during the ascension process. Again, not just so we could relax from the external world, right? So the parasympathetic nervous system could calm down and we could feel safe so that we could hang out in our apartment. Though when you meet that person in person, that will probably be that way for a couple of days or maybe a week, right? Till that equilibrium in the physiology between two people parasympathetically is able to relax you from all the things that are not only going on in the world, but mostly the things that individually you have gone through, right? And we will have individually gone, I have seen some younger people, but for the most part, the people that I know that are actually twins are between 50 and 75, right? Between 50 and 75, you've gone through a lot of bullshit. You've had a lot of bad relationships, possibly scary, life altering, or maybe even life threatening things that has happened to you, right? So we kind of can stay on edge, um, even if it's part of the time, right? Like, perfect example. I walk all the time. Sometimes I walk in the dark, single female walk in the dark. I rarely do I worry about that, right? So this was designed so that when two people came together physically, the central nervous system is able to relax and feel safe and feel, what is the word I'm looking for? Attuned in safety, um, at ease with self. And again, not just to hide out from the world or say, oh, now that you're here, I don't have to worry about politics. I don't have to worry about medical establishment or, the Illuminati. Now that you're here, everything's safe. Everything's great. It'll be that way for a couple of days, maybe a week. But the reason for all of this, paracenthesis and everything else, the reason for Kismet, is so that after those couple days, once the parasympathetic nervous system calms down, that you can start working in a massive way on this shift. This is a time of merging energies. with people, places, and things that are an energetic match. How safe does it feel to love someone when you don't trust someone? When you don't trust someone, it doesn't feel safe to love someone, right? But this is a connection where two people's frequency match, and one person has one side of the polar answer and the other person has the other side of the polar answer. So, for instance, you could be someone who's a painter, right? A fine arts painter. And your person could be, would be then someone who has experience, computer knowledge, knows how to promote things online, knows how to advertise, because very, very rarely does an artist have any of that kind of information. Again, yin yang polar. The frequency match is the same for the merge to happen, the parasynesthesis to happen. This state that you and I get into when we're totally relaxed, we feel totally at ease in ourselves, so that we can then make amazing changes. And it doesn't just say, oh, okay, this person's knocking at my door. Now they're here. Now everything, life is great. What's going on in the world is shut out. No, this actually is going to go back into your timeline and erase what has happened to you parasympathetically, to your nervous system, from the car wrecks, the bad relationships, the family drama, whatever. So this parasynesthesis goes back in your timeline when you were together. Now think about this. If you were totally relaxed and totally calm, and you can just picture yourself on an island, in Greece somewhere, right? Sitting in the sun, eating your favorite foods, not having to work, not having to do anything, and you could just stay there for the rest of your life. Now, the thought of that alone will relax you. And that's what this kismet is like. So it's not really going to even matter geographically where you are. And once you feel like your nervous system has calmed down and you have nothing to worry about, and you are completely at ease in every aspect and weird habit or unusual thing that you find fascinating or whatever, you can totally be yourself. You never ever have to censor your words, your feelings, your thoughts, your ideas. Everything will just naturally flow and come out in this parasynesthesis. And what that allows and invites is for us to then override the program that has been run for a very long time with the ascension process. We are already flipping it. We know that. Things have gotten better. We've learned how to be better. We've learned how to do better. We've learned how to be great. We've learned how to manifest. Everything is really amping up. Like, we're really doing this amazing, amazing job here with all of those things. And most of you are doing all of those things yourself. But imagine, again, how your nervous system would feel. And maybe it's not, on the beach in Greece for you. Maybe it's another place, but wherever you would feel safe and comfortable, like you never had another worry again. We are overriding this program. The feminine is intuiting it, and the masculine has designed it. Okay. And this is about connecting in a way that I never have to walk. You and I never have to walk on eggshells. We never have to watch our words. We never have to over explain ourselves. It's an open, naked, vulnerable, deep connection where the energy matches to the point where there is a merge into one very powerful soul essence that really, really speeds up the work that we came here to do. But the biggest theme I've seen for the last several years is our need to detach and let go of doors that are closed so that the other door can open. When you look at the death card in tarot, that doesn't say, oh, you stepped on an ant and it died. Okay. This is major transformation. This is like you walked out of your, let's say you're watching a thriller movie, right? An action thriller. And this is, I'm giving you the definition of the death card in tarot. Let's say you're watching an action thriller and someone walks out of their house, and the minute they walk out, the house blows to smithereens. That's the death card. You can't even go back to that house. It's not even there. It's dead. It's gone. And it's buried. You and I are in the hot seat for change to make some alignment with what has been decreed in the stars. And I can't even begin to understand how this arrangement process would even have been implemented or even begun with Kismet being arranged mathematically in the stars. But there is certainly a mirroring going on there. And I've noticed with my person, everything is the opposite. Our letters are exactly opposite and evenly spaced, and the alphabet with it, even 7 and 8 letters into the alphabet at the front, 7 and 8 letters into the alphabet at the back. In the middle is the number 10, which reduces to a 1, which is his life path number. It goes on and on and on. There's 4 pages, because when I felt like I was losing my mind, I was like, no more messages, no more telepathy, no more. I know what kind of car this person drives. I've seen them pull into my driveway so much. I think I'll do twin flame Kismet stand up. When your twin drives a 4Runner. For the runner. Okay. Thank you very much, Toyota, for designing the perfect car for the masculine runner, which apparently is the 4Runner. I've got jokes. But this kind of information, right? All of that kind of stuff. And I'm like, where is the logic in that? Where is the logic? And, logic is math. It's calculation. It's sacred geometry. It's numerology. It's alphabet. This particular thing is encoded or decreed in the map of the sky. And as I've said for the millionth time, I'm not an astrologist, and you all know that. I just look at things every once in a while when I see them. Okay. But that came to me that way because I'm like, enough of the fairy tales, unicorns, rainbows, leprechauns. Where is the logic? And everything is a mirror. In fact, recently I only have one child. He turned 30 last Saturday. Okay. He's 30 years old. And I was laying in bed last week when I saw my north node, so past life is Virgo, and my current direction is Pisces. And then I looked at his and I realized it was a perfect X in the sky on the Wheel of Fortune. The zodiac is the same thing as the Wheel of Fortune. One of us has been water for a million lifetimes, is now being called to move into earth, into stability. My past lifetimes, millions of those have been earth, 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 being urged to move into water. You see, every single thing is a mirror. And I'm like, wait a second. Now I don't want to get up. It's like 1 or 2 in the morning when this came to me, but I looked up the next day, the zodiac, because I don't have the zodiac memorized. And to my surprise, there was, just like everything else, his south node in Scorpio, his north node in Taurus, my south node in Virgo, his north node in Pisces, my north node, south node in Virgo, and my north node in Pisces. Every single thing, Kismet, is written in an opposite direction. Now, I know other twins that don't have these kind of things, so that leaves me with a million more questions that I really would love to go back into the Akashic record and ask for. But what I really wanted specifically after having this conversation with Shannon, which how many of us are there? And when I knew I wasn't going to get it, I asked, why this connection? And why now this connection? So, all of you that thought you were crazy, I hope this was helpful and I hope this made sense. It is so much easier for me to do this on the computer, though I know it doesn't get around, and probably no one wants to sit here and stare at a candle and my Peacock notebook. But at least for right now, it's an important way for me to do this. And I'm so sorry for the people. I know for sure that Rennie was here last night. And you guys, I am such a complete idiot sometimes. I had the candle right here next to me. I had the phone right next to me. The phone was leaning on the candle. How much of an idiot am I? And I looked down, and all of a sudden, my screen was flashing and the overheating button came on. And I mean, usually candles don't get super hot like that till they're down at the bottom. And this candle is more than halfway full. So that's what happened. And then I couldn't even go back and edit, make it public or anything. I had to put my phone in the freezer for 10 minutes. That's how hot it was. So luckily it didn't explode. Things are heating up here, Scott, just like your little fire signs there. Things are really heating up. I urge you to go listen to the last night's video if you haven't. I know, Rennie, that you already did. Oh, thank you, Rennie. So it's not just about your crazy delusional imagination. This is mathematical, numerical, alphabetical, and astrological, these connections. And they were done that way so that we wouldn't miss it, so that we wouldn't screw it up, so that we had so much of a higher chance of making this happen. Because everyone says, I will do this when this happens. But this Kismet says, when you do this internally, when you go to the place internally with yourself and within this connection where you are at ease and you are at peace and you can fully be yourself without having to edit yourself, that's when everything that we're waiting for will actually show up. So thank you so much for being here. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. And if you're ever curious what that thing might be, as I said, the first and most important draw to the Kismet connection is the sound of that person's voice. Thank you. Until next time, you are very welcome, Carly, and thank you for being here. Bye, guys.